we can use any of the rules for equations to work with inequalities as well. So in this particular problem, probably the first thing we would consider doing is to clear the fractions by multiplying by the common denominator, which is 10. So if I multiply by 10 on both sides, I'll wind up with 8 times 2x minus 1 less than or equal to 15 times x plus 4. Still a true inequality. Now let's remove the parentheses. We'll have 16x minus 8 is less than or equal to 15x plus 60. Now let's subtract 15x from both sides. And we'll wind up with just x minus 8 is less than or equal to 60. So let's add 8 to both sides. And we'll have x is less than or equal to 68. This is the algebraic answer. X less than or equal to 68. However, there are two other ways to express the inequality as a solution. One way is to look at the number line graph. And what we do in this case is we would locate 68 on the number line. In this case, we see that's or equal to, so we'll fill in that little hole. And everything less than that, so we'll draw an arrow in that direction. This is a graphing solution. The algebraic solution can be converted to graphic solution by doing just what we've practiced before. You've done inequality line graph descriptions before. So now let's consider one other way that's called interval notation. In interval notation, we look at the size and the direction that the arrow goes in the graph, and we see that if it goes down forever into the left, that we're going to see that it goes to negative infinity. Sideways 8 is infinity, and negative infinity means you're going to the left. You put a parenthesis out there, and that's called an open interval. It means you don't actually get to that spot. No one ever gets to negative infinity. So we use a parenthesis there. The other end of this interval is at 68. And since we are allowed to use 68, we won't put the parentheses. Instead, to tell us that we're using the endpoint 68, we use a square bracket. This is the interval notation, and this is called a half-open or half-closed interval, where one end is not using the endpoint and the other end does use the endpoint. This is the interval notation. Algebra, graph, interval notation. Each time we look at these problems, we'll try to express them in those three different ways so that you can get some practice with converting things into these three different equivalent statements.